What's up, everybody? It's Megan and the Apricity Podcast. And today I have such a near and dear friend to my heart and soul, my sister in Christ, my friend in so many ways. We have been on such a beautiful journey together, and I am going to welcome you now to my friend, Jess Mathiak. Jess, thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness, Megan, what an honor and a joy to be with you today to share in this awesome experience.
Oh my God, we're gonna have so much fun. And also, I always love these podcast recordings to be, so fun. We just let the Holy Spirit move through us. We have a great time talking, but it feels, and I've been talking about this in my messaging and content the past couple of weeks, it feels like so many things have shifted for me, and I can even hear it in the way that I'm speaking now. Like my voice has changed. My responsibility has changed. The stewardship of the gift God entrusted me with has changed. And that's what I feel like this podcast today is going to be about. And that's why I'm so grateful that you're here, because you are such an advocate for using your voice in a way that promotes positive change and love and honor and right? Really, really, how do I want to say, you're like a trusted steward of wealth and just voice and freedom in the way that you speak. So the stars aligned perfectly today for you to be my guest.
Wow. It's funny because I feel actually speechless right now after hearing that, which is kind of hard for me because you're right. I'm a vocal person. My boys tell me I'm always yapping. And that, everywhere we go, I know somebody or they know me. And I do feel the same as you, Meg, where we were gifted with the ability to speak. And at times my ability to do so is not as eloquent or as postured as I'd hoped. And sometimes my millennial self really pops out with my slang, but I feel strongly now more than ever the absolute responsibility we have to be good stewards of our words and how we advocate, not just for things that we need or we want, but for what others need and for those that maybe are less vulnerable or more vulnerable than us. And we have the ability to do so. And we should.
And I know you all are listening through audio right now, but I put my hand over my heart when you started talking about that, because, me and Jess were talking before we started recording, and I really want you to share about your business and the journey that it took of just bravery and courage and faith in God to get here. We walked through that together, and it's so
Did.
powerful, right? But I feel like even the way that SOULSPEAK has changed in the last 2 weeks, where, I feel like maybe used to be about, I'm so excited to create this, and this is like my new thing. And now it doesn't feel like mine at all. It feels like I am meant to, maybe lead this movement or be the face of this thing, but it is about everybody else. It is about the men and women who are called up in this moment, like the ones who can't be stopped, they can't be tamed, like they're here on purpose. Their presence and their light has always been something that shined really bright. And maybe they were scared of that responsibility, because it is,
It
right? It
is.
is. So now it just feels like calling them forth and calling them in and really building God's army that can speak, girl. They can
Yeah.
speak, and they speak
Mhm.
with such articulation and this gift that God entrusted them with that it gives me chills. So
Yeah.
this shift is really powerful, and I know you're feeling it too. And I just know that we are brought together for such a time as this.
Absolutely. I think you also nailed it and you said something so powerful. It's not about me. It's not about what you and I do as individuals. It's God's. It's his. It's what we do to further the kingdom and empowering our fellow Christians or even non-believers, right? That's our goal, is to bring them into the fold and um encourage others to do the same and to teach them how to use their voice simply by being an example, because God did give us that ability. And so I think you're completely onto something. If we just continually look at it from, it's not about me, it's about we, it's about him, and we can flourish in that mentality.
Amen, sister. I love that because, what does that do when we shine God's light for the world to see? It's like, oh my God, now I feel like I have permission to be in my gift. It's like a
Mhm.
ripple effect. It's a compound effect. Like that's how I see it. I see the glow and I see like oh, that person's in their light, that person's in their gift. And it's like, and we all activate that for each other. Can you imagine what the world would look like if we were all living in the gift that God entrusted us to live in? Like that's what I see. And that is my mission.
It's really neat to see that when somebody's on the precipice or the cusp of they're coming into their ability, and you get to see that like a little duckling, maybe you're coaching them or you're mentoring them, and it could be in any type of role. It doesn't have to be in the coaching and wellness space, right? It can be in education, it can be in law enforcement, it can be as a first responder, it can be as a person working at a bank. Your role in a leadership position of some sort, you are planted in their life for a purpose. And it's really encouraging to see when you can spread those little seeds and then that person starts to blossom. And I think that's what we're all being called to do.
Yeah. And I mean, let's just segue into it. You do that so well, Jess, even more than you ever have before. Take us back to the beginning of your journey where you were like, okay, I know that I am being called into something bigger, but there's like that fear until your body starts screaming at you. So take us back.
Okay, so I love this question and I didn't know it was coming. So I was not the self-confident girl ever. In fact, all through like middle school, my teenage years, even into early adulthood, I lacked confidence significantly. Sure, I could speak to people, was an extrovert, that kind of thing, but I was terrified constantly about what other people thought of me. It really was a big barrier in me progressing as a human being, as a Christian, and then eventually as a wife and as a mother. And then when I felt this calling, it actually started about 5 years ago and started to grow during COVID. That's really where I established my roots with using my voice, using my position as a registered nurse, but most importantly as a mother. That is where I felt like, okay, the Lord is speaking to me now to push away any insecurity, any doubt, any self-judgment and ridicule. And now is the time to lead. And so it began there, but where that journey really solidified in hearing God's calling was last year. I had this significant medical emergency. Megan, what you were right there with me the whole time with this. And I'm a blood clot survivor. Blood clots broke off. I'm a healthy 40-year-old. I'm at work, working with a patient, and I collapsed, become unresponsive. And in my coworker's hands, I have this seizure. I stop breathing. She initiates CPR, gets an AED, all the things, right? But what happened is these blood clots, they broke off, they struck my brain, my heart, and my lungs all at the same time. And I ended up in CCU for a week, with having a mini stroke and a heart attack, and then all these, pulmonary embolisms in my lungs. And I survived something that catastrophically should have killed me. In fact, my hematologist at the hospital, I vividly remember this, and I was very incoherent, right? Because my brain was just, struck and I'm recovering. But he vividly said to me, I have been in medicine for over 25 years and no one has ever survived this, let alone the magnitude of blood clots that you had. You are a miracle. And I don't know if this man was a believer or not, but my heart knew that he was right and that the Lord had spared me from something that very easily I should have been taken from, two young children, a wife. And so all of these things really, really shifted my process of who I am as a person, my walk with the Lord, and it magnified that desire to do something different and to be something bold and not go back to what I was doing before. And that really led me to doing a lot of soul searching, and some very negative things happened to me post, you know, I mean, you were there, part of that, leading me, you know, from a counselor position, right? And you were counseling me 3 times a week because I was such a mess. And when those bad things happened to me, having you as a support person encouraging me to lean on asking God what to do next, having my husband very adamantly say to me, you can do this, babe. That is when the desire to start our own practice began. And we went to work very quickly and created what we have now celebrated 14 months of being in business. And God has truly blessed our company.
14 months. Time flies, Jess.
Yes, it flies. It's flown.
Congratulations. This story, and one of the biggest things I remember from your story is like your body will scream at you if you're not in the right place. Like I remember even, you know, like when I was going through my transformation and, you know, almost dying and getting sober and all those things. But I just remember like your body will let you know if you are not where you're supposed to be. If you are out of alignment with where God's calling you to go, like listen to it. And so
Yes.
often we don't, you know, and then all of a sudden we're like, but God will give, it's like God gave you another chance. He gave me another chance. And one of the things I live by, and I know that you do too, is like, I'm not going to waste it. I'm not going to
No.
waste it this time around, right?
No. And that was the biggest thing, I think, from a career standpoint, you know, serving as a registered nurse, working very hard on my education. I have my master's degree. It's my passion to be a nurse. And I knew that I didn't want to go back to traditional acute care medicine, right? The traditional Western allopathic system actually failed me as a patient during that process. Remember, the ER doctor didn't believe my husband, and they didn't even check me for blood clots. So had it not been for my nurse who advocated, who used his voice to say to the attending, hey, this girl has a history of pulmonary embolism. We need to look at this. And thank the Lord that he did. And bam, right? So I would have been treated completely inappropriately and would have died had I not gotten proper treatment from having a nurse speak up on my behalf. So I knew that I wanted to continue in a mission-based, faith-based organization. You don't get that in corporate healthcare. You don't get that at all. So having the courage when I had no clue what on earth I was doing. I am not a business girl, right? Like I have no business background. I'm a train wreck with money, and I have no marketing background, nothing, right? How the heck am I going to pull together a business? But the Lord planted people in my life that could take care of that. My sister as our CFO and one of her former employees as our CPA, you know, having other interactions with people who do our marketing for us that help out, having godly fearing women as part of my team, you know, my clinical team, having a physician partner who I go to church with every single week. Like those are the things that you can't just randomly find. God orchestrated each individual into Micah Healing and created something we had no idea we were even fit to do. Yet here we are and getting new patients every single day.
And the cool thing about Micah Healing, and I want you to talk a little bit about what you guys do. I know that you pray over those rooms, girl, every morning. You are praying for your clients, like bringing God into the room. You know, you take time to listen to people. And that's like such the beauty of, you know, when we grow out of spaces that maybe taught us what we needed to know, but they're not meant for us anymore, right? Like you grew out of those spaces and God was calling you to like create something new, create something with me as the center point, create something that allows you to have freedom and flexibility with your family. Like, you know, that's those things, and like the ripple effect from doing that is, you know, we don't even, we can't even fathom what
Right.
the ripple effect from that is, and you being brave enough to step into that position, right? And like being brave enough and having the surrender and letting go and being like, okay, God, I trust you. Like I'm a jump, but I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
That is so funny. So I firmly believe that I almost have this childlike faith at 42 years old constantly because I don't get scared about paying the bills or not, taking care of what needs to be taken care of, so our business went through some tribulations and trials, early on, and we were able to just pray through those. And even, people who claim to be Christ followers, we had struggles with. Um, and we really worked through those things and came out on a in a better position. And we did outgrow our initial space. We had this adorable, cute little place we had rented for a year. And then God literally dropped the building that I wanted. Like for the past 10 years, I've loved this building and sent us this beautiful space. My husband completely gutted it, redid it. And now here we are at a new location offering, we have aesthetics and wellness services here. And we try to focus heavily on holistic and functional medicine and root cause. We do offer the fun things like cosmetic injectables. It fills my art cup significantly. And we have a licensed esthetician who does facials and skincare and all the relaxation and comforting pieces. But truly where our passion lies is understanding our patients' concerns and hearing them, listening to them intently, and trying to find what is the problem rather than taking that there's a pill for every ill approach. And we really don't see that a whole lot in our area, which is kind of interesting being in more of a suburban rural area. And there's this satiety for it, right? Patients want something different than what the world has given them, especially in a post-COVID era, which, I think everyone should have the right to choose on what type of medicine works best for them. And we want to be able to have that offering for them. So, that's really where our heart's desire is. But first and foremost, our company is rooted in our faith. And that is very challenging for business owners in today's very controversial climate, because my heart is never postured to offend anyone or to be unkind or to make them not want to come to our office. But my job, like we said at the very beginning, it's about him and bringing others into the kingdom and sharing my love for Jesus. And that's what drives us every day, right? Like that's what gets me up out of bed, is that I have the ability to witness to others. They see that that's what our business is rooted in. And of course, that's not all we talk about. We obviously talk a lot about clinical things, but my heart is, I'm fully fine with people knowing where we stand on our faith. And I would like to encourage other people to be bold in their faith as well.
Again, you guys can't see what's happening here because you're only hearing the audio, but I believe that you can hear. I mean, we called the Holy Spirit into this room, and I feel I am full body chills this whole time from talking about your near-death experience, the way that you were saved, the nurse that spoke up, you guys. I mean, this is not just about like, always clearly articulating your message and what you want to say. Sometimes it's just about removing that block of fear over your throat. That's like, they're going to judge me. What are they going to think? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to get in trouble? Am I still going to be loved? Right? Like all those
Right.
things that keep us held back from really just speaking from our heart. So then we end up speaking from our mind, which is the protecting yourself, defending yourself, all the ego. Right? And we
Yes.
see that so much every day, especially now. So I mean, we're crying over here. Our eyes are filling up with tears. You know, this is what happens when you have, I wrote this down when you were talking, when you said you had childlike faith. I call it delusional faith. It's like,
Yes.
you know, that faith that
Yes.
everyone thinks you might be nuts, but everyone thought Noah was nuts until it rained, right? So,
Yes. Preach it, sister.
you know, it's so beautiful because when we're asked to step into these bigger roles, I mean, I just invested pretty big in something that is going to take me and my voice even higher because I truly believe that God is calling me to have my voice in bigger rooms to amplify him and his message and Jesus and the whole, I mean,
Love
I
that
truly believe
word.
that.
Love the word amplify. Love that.
Amplify, right? But sometimes it looks to other people like, are you nuts? You know, like, oh, you're gonna start your own business? Like, doesn't that feel really risky? You're gonna create this, you know, whole entire brand and business around your faith. Like, doesn't that sound like you might push some people away? And it's just believing that if you were positioned here, that you were positioned here on purpose, Jess. And I mean, you are somebody who is so positioned on purpose. In every room we walk in, girl, like you belong. God sent you there. And you're such an example and inspiration to me. And you always have been. So thank you so much for that. You guys, I trust Jess
Aw.
with my family. I send my family to her. I've had all kinds of things done at Micah Healing. So, I mean, you know, we can go anywhere for these kinds of things. But when you step into an establishment, a brand, a business, you know, somebody's energy who is full of love, who is full of God, who is full of prayer, who truly, I mean, you pray over that space daily, like it makes a difference in what you choose.
Yes. I think that, I think most of us want to resonate with who we're spending our hard-earned money with, right? Money doesn't grow on trees in the Mathiak house. So when I'm going to make a purchase or something, first of all, huge small business advocate. If there's a small business that's making something that I need, that's where I'm shopping. But at the same time, I do want to align myself with places that I get that good feeling when I walk in their doors, like I'm home, like I'm at a friend's house. I don't want to feel the ick, and I want that space for ours. When you walk in here, we want you to feel welcomed. We want you to feel at home. Like we're gonna, get you a coffee or a water, and we're just gonna talk. We're gonna chat, and I think that's important. You mentioned that I do pray over our rooms every day. This chair right behind me gets prayed over. I don't want to ever miss something. So it's really important to me when I get the opportunity, the honor to have a patient say, "Hey, Jess, will you pray for me on this?" And that means more to me than when they talk to me about, medical issues. And of course, that's very important, first and foremost. But when they ask me to pray for them, it is such an honor. And it is a deep reverence that I have for someone who says that. And I trust that they know that when I say, yes, I will, that I mean it. And that is going to be part of their care plan. It's not just something that falls on deaf ears. So I think the other important aspect is, when we look at Micah, who Micah was. So our name actually came from my girlfriend Kayla. We were at soccer practice, and we were trying to come up with names for the company. And she took my husband's name, Michael, and then my name, Jessica, and merged them together and came up with Micah. But Micah is even bigger than just, our two names put together. It's a book of the Bible where Micah was a prophet who used his voice to speak out against false prophets and Pharisees and those that were lukewarm, and that those who condemned, people, or who didn't help the poor, like he spoke out specifically on politicians. That was another big one, which, I get that way. But he really, really utilized his voice to preach and to share and to stand up for what was right. To the Lord asks us to do those things, right? Micah 6:8, that is our Bible verse for our business. And it is our job to walk humbly and to act justly. And we hope that we bring that into our vision, into everything that we do here in our practice. But it's also a life verse, that we carry that out when we leave these doors. If you see me at the soccer field, or you see me at Kroger, or wherever I am, we want that messaging to be continued wherever we go. And it's really important that we just continue to encourage others to live in that same type of mentality, to speak up and to listen first, and then utilize our hearts, like you said, not our brains. And I want to share with your listeners, Megan, because I think this is probably one of the most crucial things you taught me during the most vulnerable and dark time of my life. Because of where the blood clots struck, I had medical challenges, right? I know, don't cry, don't cry. I had medical challenges with cognition in my brain, as well as difficulty with breathing in my lungs. And then my heart rate was going sky high and my blood pressure was dropping very low. So Megan taught me to place my hand over each of these body systems, on my heart, on my lungs, and on my head, and to say, heart, what is it that you need from me today? Lungs, what is it that you need? Brain, what is it that you need? And I catch myself doing this still to this day when I can't focus, or I am feeling brain fog or scatterbrained, or if I feel like maybe I am getting a little stressed out in my heart, is I place my hand on those places and say those words that you taught me. So I think that's such a wonderful tool that your listeners should have in their toolbox when dealing with stress or anxiety or fear, and just tapping into those great gifts that you shared with me. So thank you for that, my friend.
I'm crying. Well, it's such a testament to us, and thank you so much for sharing that with me. But it's such a testament of, we don't even know the impact that we have sometimes, right? Like, that's just something I do. I'm like, people might think it's weird, but I feel like I need to share this with you. God gave us eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart that beats forever and lungs that allow us to live and arms that allow us to hug. I mean, when's the last time that we actually said, thank you?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to my body that allows me to live this beautiful life. And, we don't know when we say something to somebody or we share something with somebody through our voice, the way that it affects their lives, and they might share it with somebody else, and then their kids are doing it, and like, you just don't even know. So the extension of all this, the way that it extends, the way that it expands, the way that it amplifies, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, if that's not something to remind you to always speak from your heart, and if it's coming through for you, like, oh my God, I feel like I need to share this right now. I feel like I need to say this right now. I feel like I need to be free from this right now. Like, how, right? Like, just allow yourself to go through it and trust the process, because that's where you lead to the breakthrough. Like, that's what leads you to the other side. You've got to trust yourself on the way there and trust that God's leading you exactly where you're supposed to go. So
100%. I also find that I felt like after that, our family calls it my episode. So when I had my episode, one of the things that the Holy Spirit really convicted me on, because it did take me a little bit to get essentially my mental faculties back, right? And it caused me to be slow to speak. Now, I still use my voice, of course, but before that, I could get spicy, right? Like I could have a quick response to something, and I wouldn't really like sit on it for a minute and think about the situation before having a reaction. And I want to be able to respond, not react to everything. And I feel like that has been one of the greatest gifts that I've received out of having that experience, is because God did slow me down. He slowed me down so that I could pay very close attention, not only to my body, but to how words can make impacts, and not always positive ones. And we have to be very cautious of that. And I know that I have offended people in the past because of those types of reactions. I'm very blunt, right? But that is one thing that I have seen a dramatic shift in, is being a little bit slower to think about things and not responding so quickly or reacting so quickly when my thoughts my heart posture needs to be positioned appropriately before I say things that, one, I could regret, but ultimately could lead someone away from God's message because I was too harsh or cynical or critical or whatever other hyperbole we can insert there. It just needs to be a place of love. It can still have dissent, but it needs to be in a very positive way, that we're sharing things, because I don't ever want anyone to be misguided because of what I had to say. And that means a lot.
What a beautiful point, and something, we can all remember and take home. There's been so many moments throughout this episode, and as we're wrapping up, I feel like there's so many things that people can take with them from today. There's so many things that you can take with you as you go into your daily life, in your home environment, in your conversations with your kids, in the way you speak into your dreams. But that is something that even I have to remember, like somebody who built their entire brand on voice and speaking, right? Like even I have to remember that sometimes, that, our first reaction is always to like defend, protect, ego, like how dare you, or whatever it is, right? We want to be right. We want to be safe. But if we can let down, and this is like the foundation of, what I teach, is letting down the walls of your heart, because, everyone's feelings are valid and everyone's experience is their experience. So if we can seek to understand and really break those things down, because no one's trying to tell you that you can't believe, well, maybe they are, but no one's going to change my mind about what I
Right.
but I can try and understand someone else's viewpoint, and I can, infuse the conversation with love and respect, even if I'm not getting that back, right? I know that my side of the street is clean and I showed up with integrity and humble leadership.
Right.
I don't need to be glorified. I don't need to be the one who like was right all the time. I don't need to be the one. All I need to be is the one who infused love into somebody's hearts, even if in that moment they didn't realize that's what they were getting. Even if it's 20 years from now, they're like, wow, that moment actually changed me. So that's what we have to remember. Like the ripple effect of what we say has the ability and power to kill and destroy, or build up and create. Like that's how much power we have.
Yes.
And
we want to make sure too that we are encouraging, because like that ripple effect, we don't know what the next generation is going to hold, right? We don't know what seeds we're planting now that will be sown later. And we have to just simply be truly uplifting as much as possible. None of us are perfect. We are all human, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But we have to think that if we can just empower one person, we don't know that they may change something so beautifully for this world. They may come up with a cure or a solution, or be the next great person that's out there. We see this all the time: revival, inspiration, there's encouragement. And I guess my last thought that I'd like to share with your team here and your followers is the fact that we do have to have this delusional childlike faith that we must trust God's timing. We must trust his plan, Jeremiah 29:11. His plans are good for us. And we have to be obedient to what we are being called to do. And we have to remember that if we are not obedient, then the gifts that we were given will never be shared. And that's not something that I want to walk into heaven one day and be like, yes, Lord, I know you gave me these gifts and I didn't use them. That's the last thing that I want to have happen. So be encouraging and use your voice, be bold, trust, and walk in faith.
Jess, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. Like I have so many things.
And we have.
Oh my God. Even to that, that obedience piece, that was so big for me. Letting go of my own will for God's and thinking that, letting go of that thinking that I knew better or my way was better or my timing was better. And the minute that I stepped into that was the minute that SOULSPEAK was born.
Absolutely. And I loved seeing that for you. I loved seeing that story come to fruition because of your obedience in that. And it was big and ugly and scary, and you still did it.
It was big and ugly and scary for me. I know this journey was big and ugly and scary for you too, but we have that delusional faith. So you guys, closing remarks, delusional faith, right? Really trusting God no matter what, no matter how scary, no matter how insane you think that people think you are. You serve a big God, pray a big prayer. And I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Jess, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, Megan, thank you so much for this opportunity. Truly, God bless you, my friend.
God bless you. God bless everybody listening. And we will see you on the next episode.